topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Connected Table Live. We're your hosts, Melanie Young and David Ransom, your insatiably curious culinary couple. We enjoy traveling the world to bring you the amazing places we visit, the people we meet, and the food, wines, and spirits, and other yummy things we drink and eat. And we want to bring it to you so you will eat, drink, and explore and be inspired to step out and travel and explore with us. We are broadcasting from where, David? We're not from there, but we were just in.
Well, we were just in Lisbon for New Year's, and we're back now, and we're broadcasting from our home office.
But we're sharing Lisbon with you. So we have a great tradition, particular, to celebrate my New Year's birthday, January 1. So we're different every year. And this year we chose a place that had been on my bucket list for a long time that I never visited, Lisbon, Portugal. You've been before, right?
I have. I've been to this. This was my fourth trip to Portugal, so it was actually just lovely to be more familiar with it by the time I got there this time. How long have you been traveling for New Year's, Melanie? How many years?
37.
No, there you go.
37 wonderful years. That's all I'm going to say. A long time, over 3 decades. And I keep a diary of every trip and experience. And those diaries have traveled with me from home to home, as you know, David, because I've packed them up.
And I've moved them.
And those memories are so incredibly special. So we made more memories ringing in 2026 in Lisbon. We decided to give ourselves, indulge ourselves in basing ourselves there for 10 days. Usually when we go on these wonderful wine trips, we're moving around a lot. We're visiting wineries and going here and there and unpacking and packing. And we had just been in Porto, which we will be doing a special feature on in another edition of the Connected Table. But we decided that given it was Christmas week and in the New Year's, we would base ourselves in Lisbon and really get to know the city. And I think we did a good job.
Yeah, we did a great job.
And for that reason, we decided to...
It was nice to park ourselves for 10 days at a time. Because we're almost not even home for 10 days at a time, it seems.
Well, I did a show.
Traveling.
I did a show on Fearless Fabulous You about the joy of slow travel. We have slow eating, slow wine, slow travel. Why rush and go here and there and spend a night here and a day trip here and zip around? You become more exhausted than exhilarated. So 10 days in Lisbon in the end of December through New Year's, early January, gave us a chance to explore the city, learn its history, find incredible neighborhoods, and of course, eat some amazing food. So we're bringing that to you, and we'll be sharing it also on our blog. Let's just set it up with a little bit about Lisbon in case you've never been, and what opened my eyes as a first-time visitor and yours as a fourth time. My impressions about Lisbon are that it was a mashup between San Francisco and New Orleans. Why? Because you've got these amazing steep hills in San Francisco and these amazing vistas over the Tagus River. And you have these historic streetcars similar to the Rice-A-Roni streetcars of San Francisco, and amazing seafood dishes similar to the chapinos that are Portuguese, you find in San Francisco as a seafood port. But then on the same time, it reminded me of our home, New Orleans. Again, you've got these historic streetcars. You've got this incredible architecture that has tile and stone on the outside, and these balconies, these French balconies made of iron. Also in San Francisco, you have the crumbling streets that are permanent conditions in New Orleans, and you've got that African flair and South American flavors that you get here in what we like to call the North Caribbean, New Orleans. There's just history of both. But you know what's interesting, David? Before I share the next interesting point about San Francisco, New Orleans. What were your impressions of it?
Well, I was fascinated by the fact that you talked about the streets and the fact that they're somewhat difficult to navigate at times. But they're all brick. So
Yeah.
they're all stone and individually placed bricks, and we call them Belgian bricks here in the US, but stone that have been really hand put into the entire city. So there's almost no pavement, as it were.
Mhm.
It's all these brick roadways and sidewalks. It's beautiful to see, but it does make navigation a little bit difficult at times because it's not the most even of terrain. Let's put it that way.
So, there's probably a good reason for that, because like San Francisco and New Orleans, Lisbon suffered a massive disaster, specifically on the morning of November 1st, 1755. A earthquake, I don't know if they had Richter scales back then, but it was like almost 8-point on the Richter scale, hit Lisbon just as all the residents were going to church to celebrate All Saints' Day. So while they were all in church, an earthquake hit, shattered everything, destroying buildings. But then what happened was worse. One, all the locals had lit candles and left them burning in their homes while they attended church services. So the candles were knocked over and the city went in flames, a huge firestorm. And then the third trifecta was the tsunami.
Yeah, so everybody was escaping into the river to escape the flames of the
Right.
city, because the city's basically right on the shore of the river. So
Right.
they all escaped into the river, and as they all kind of got to the river, the tsunami hit. So I think they estimated about 40,000 people died.
Yeah, 40,000 people
Obviously,
died.
the city
November
was much smaller
1st,
back then.
1755. You see a lot of so as a result of that, when the long rebuilding process began and they hired architects, the stone building was important. The stone buildings, the stone roads, and the tiles, the painted tiles that you see became part of the architecture to protect the buildings.
Yeah, and they actually made a lot of improvements to the building structures of the city as they rebuilt it. The hills were not as affected as the downtown center of the city, called the Baixas, that was basically leveled. The king actually was nowhere to be found that day.
He's in the photo right there.
He's in the photo right back behind us there.
His horse is facing the river for a reason.
Yeah, but he was nowhere to be found that day. He had actually gone on a picnic with his family outside of the downtown center. He was out in Belém, which is now where the royal palace is, and had decided to take a picnic. So he wasn't inside. He was fine, but he decided never to go back to Lisbon, and so he spent the rest of his life outside of Lisbon, ruling from afar, shall we say.
Yeah, in this central location, the Pastel de Comercio, which is like the gathering place for everything, and where we saw the New Year's fireworks, his statue is front and center.
Yeah.
And the horse is facing out because he's trying to get away from Lisbon. We heard a lot of great stories through our tour guides, which we'll get into. But, Lisbon also really didn't even open up to the world until after 1974, because it fell under a 40-year rule of a dictator, the longest authoritarian regime in Europe, under Antonio de Oliveira Salazar, and it was overthrown in a military coup, overthrew the authoritarian dictatorship in 1974. And what we learned on our walking tour was the Carnation Revolution. Very important, because until then, Lisbon was basically closed to the world. Portugal, even though it was a seafaring country. And apparently a woman that is now revered in legend, Celeste Queiro, was a flower seller or worked in a local bar or something. And she handed out red carnations to everybody, and they put them in the rifles. What do you call that part of the rifle where you put the flower?
The barrel.
The barrel. Thank you. The barrel. And every year now, on April 25th, which is the day, they have the celebration of carnations. It's just beautiful. Fortunately now, Lisbon seems to be doing very well economically, and the great tourism movement is evident. We saw many tourists from all over the world.
Well, I think one of the things that was New Year's, first of all, but and Lisbon does a great New Year's festival, and do beautiful fireworks and music on the river in the
right up above where our head
right,
is,
really behind Melanie's head. They set up a big stage in the big Prato do Comércio,
Yeah.
which is the main square in Lisbon, and they have a huge party, and then everybody watches fireworks. We were part of that.
Yeah.
I enjoyed
And
it tremendously.
you wear blue underwear, you
Mhm.
eat cold drapes at midnight. There's all sorts of fun customs. It was a lot of fun and very well behaved. No, a lot of police presence. We felt very safe. I want to emphasize that we felt really safe during our entire time in Lisbon. Like anywhere that's heavily touristed, you do have to watch out for pickpockets and other things, but we felt very safe. Now, it's a big city, but it's a small city, right? And a lot of the neighborhoods are walkable. We really, the tourism aspect of it concentrates in like 4 areas, which we'll go over. So we stayed in the area called Baija, Baixa. There are hotels everywhere. They consider the heart of Lisbon. I would say it would be equivalent to going to New York and staying in the Times Square area. It's flat, unlike many places of Lisbon. So if you want to go somewhere where it's flat and don't want to go up and down hill, this is a great place.
Right.
We loved our location. Shout out to Higgy House, where we stayed, an apartment hotel. There's wide streets. Many don't have automobiles, so you can just walk. A lot of stores and restaurants. And it's next to probably one of my favorite neighborhoods, which is the oldest in Lisbon, called Alfama. Now, it's interesting. When I was researching hotels, we almost stayed in Alfama. I would not recommend it because it is so hilly and there's so many narrow streets. It's like a maze of narrow streets deliberately so that invaders could not find their way into the streets, we learned.
That's one of the things we learned, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Lisbon has been invaded a couple of times.
Oh, yeah. And
Yes.
you can't invade Alfama.
Over the eons.
Yeah. So Alfama and nearby Moreira are two very neighborhoods that are very old. Alfama is known for having a Jewish community. We saw some old synagogues, whereas Moreira is a Muslim community, which is also interesting because it's a very multicultural area here. It's also the birth of where fado, the very soulful music, was there. A mournful music was, obviously for a long time, the Lisbon residents had lots to mourn, whether they were being bombarded by a hurricane, flood, or tsunami, or fire. There were all the women who were mourning the men they lost at sea when they went out and maybe didn't return. So this music is often played. It's very somber in small eateries that they call tasca, which is equivalent of a tavern, where you can get very affordable, more traditional food at really reasonable prices. So that's Alfama, and you gotta have good walking shoes. And we do recommend a guide. We did a free walking tour. We booked through booking.com, which was where we booked our hotel. Kate was our guide. She lives in Alfama. She gave us a list, which we'll be sharing toward later in the show, some of everybody's recommendations. It is so, you pay what you want. You tip the guide. We highly recommend it. What were your impressions of Alfama and Moreira?
Oh, I love them. I wouldn't want to stay there because it's super hilly and the streets are narrow and very difficult to navigate. However, and again, those bricks that they're paved with. But it's a beautiful area. That's where the main cathedral is.
Yes.
Of Lisbon. So it's not down in the center of the city. It's up on the hill overlooking the city.
Right.
And we actually didn't go in, but it's quite a nice cathedral, they say. And it's a beautiful area. It's small, intricate streets and
incredible
and a
views.
couple of different neighborhoods within it, but it's a beautiful area. And a lot of people go there to see the nightlife and go to the shops and stores and buy things, etc. It's a lovely area. We actually spent a lot of time there, because we were staying right on the edge of it, down in the main downtown.
Which is why we loved our location.
Which was a nice place for us to stay.
Yeah, we went up there. We took wine bars. We love this wine bar called Antigua Wine Bar. It was at least steps from us. Great views to look over, and literally there was at one viewpoint where our guide Kate took us, and we went and revisited. I thought I was actually looking at San Francisco because the Vasco da Gama Bridge looks like the Golden Gate Bridge. And then high at the top is the monastery, where there's an incredible outdoor garden bar where you can sit and have drinks and just look out over the river to the other side. It's just incredible. A wonderful place to visit. Alfama is the historic, and Moreira. they're next to each other, and you just get lost in both of them. The other areas that are key to see, one is Barrio Alto, which has very fine hotels, probably more luxury hotels and nightlife, a lot of clubs, a lot of great dining, good shopping.
Good shopping as well.
Really
yes.
good shopping.
That's where the hot stores are,
Yeah.
etc. But it's also it's on a hill.
Yeah.
So like Alfama is, but it's on the other hill, on the other side of town, other side of the main downtown. So if you go up that hill, there it's a little, the streets are a little wider, etc. But great shopping, wonderful restaurants. We went to a few while we were there.
Yeah, we did.
And again, easy to get to, and everybody walks up and down those hills.
Yeah, and there's a famous elevator. I can't remember. There's a very famous elevator that takes you up and over to the train station and everything. It was closed due to some repair work they're doing. But definitely take advantage of going to these incredible vistas. Again, we had through free walking tours, we did the Alfama tour, and then we did one called Historical Lisbon. And our guide, Tiago, was a history professor. And that's when we went to see the historic elevator and the train station and the views that way to the Barrio Alto. And we learned so much. That's where we learned about. We went to the palace. It's now a museum where the Carnation Revolution took place and where everybody gathers every April to celebrate. And I honestly think if we had not taken those walking tours, which are also very good exercise, 2.5 hours of uphill walking, we probably wouldn't have seen it ourselves.
Yeah, but we learned a lot that you never would see in the guidebook. As well. So it was just, and these tours, there are a million of those tours in probably every city, but it's worth spending a day taking a tour, or a couple of days taking a couple of tours, because you book them for €1.
Yeah.
And then it's pay what you want. So and usually it's $20 a head. So
€20.
So you give them €20 per person, or €30 per couple, or
pay
whatever
what
it may be.
Yeah.
And because that's how they make their money.
It's 2.5 hours. I mean, you get a value for this.
And they give you a lot of information, and you cover a lot of ground, and it was well worth the time.
Yeah.
And the money spent to attend these tours.
And we gave both of our guides great reviews, and they gave us, which we're going to share with you, some places they like to go, that we all like to find those insider local places. Well, we have some now for you.
As a matter of fact, after that tour was over, we looked at the list and said, well, we're having lunch. Oh, we went to one of the places that he suggested.
Exactly.
And
it was so fabulous.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So the other neighborhood, it's further out. So it's a cab ride, which we'll get to the transportation options. It's called Belém. Now, Belém is where the Royal Palace is. It's also where the MAT Museum is, a very famous museum of automation, architecture. It's like a huge museum of engineering. You see a lot of steamship stuff, technology.
MAAT.
MAAT. Big, looks like a giant beached whale kind of on the water. We went one rainy day because it does rain in the winter. And then we walked around Belém, which is, again, where the Royal Palace is, where this huge monastery de Belém is, a tower, but it's closed, the Torre de Belém, and a lot of eateries. And of course, the one reason many people just go to Belém is because they want to go and have one of the signature dishes of Portugal and Lisbon. We're going to put it up on the screen for you can see. It's the third one, Pastel de Nata. Okay, there's a whole story behind this. First of all, we learned egg pastries are a big deal in Portugal because, up in Porto, we learned it was probably because they used the egg whites to fine the wines.
So there's a million versions of pastéis, and most of them are called pastéis de nata.
Right.
So they call them just natas.
Yes.
And one of our guides said, if you're trying to find the perfect one, you just do as much research as you can and have as many of them as you can before you leave Lisbon, because everybody eats them. They're delicious. And but the original is the Pastéis de Belém from 1837,
right?
Which was created in Belém by the bakery that supplied yolks by the nuns of the convent.
So the story goes, there was a convent in Belém, because there's a royal palace and a big monastery. I referred to the monasterio there. It's huge monasterio. So the nuns used the egg whites to starch the habits and robes of the priests and their habits. So egg whites were used to starch the robes, so there was a surplus of yolks. And of course, many monasteries create amazing food products around the world to make money. So they made pastries, and the surplus eggs were repurposed to make very many pastries. But the one that has become legendary is the Pastel de Belém, where it's only called Pastel de Belém in Belém. Otherwise, it's Pastel de Nata. And it's basically a custardy egg custard in a tart with burnt top, as you can see. And the original version dates to 1837. The family that runs this basically took over making these egg custard pastéis de Belém from the nuns and took over the process and the recipe and have been making it ever since 1837. It's still family run.
And I think only 3 people have the recipe.
Exactly. I mean, it's as quiet as...
So it's like Coca-Cola.
Yeah. And
nobody knows exactly what it's made with.
So you're probably asking, is it worth it to get there? Absolutely. We loved all the the pastas de nata we had, but I think for me personally, and you can chime in, this particular one had a crust that was so light and crispy and tasty, and the burnt top, it was like a creme brulee. It was just...
It's delicious.
Unbelievable.
And theirs are all very traditional. There were a couple other places that we visited, and of course we were testing other ones.
Yeah, of course.
Where you could get flavored ones as well. We had a wonderful one.
Dubai chocolate.
With Dubai chocolate in it, another one with pistachio in it, and they were all delicious. So, there's obviously room for checking out other ways to make it, but this was the original.
And you can actually
totally worth the trip.
You can take lessons to learn how to make it yourself. We went to one place, I think it's called Natalea. It was, we could literally see students learning how to make pasta de nata, and that's where we had the Dubai chocolate one. Montegheria is the other well-known producer. The key with these is you can get them anywhere. Like you can get croissants anywhere, whatever in France. You want to go where they're being made. So when you go into the padaria, which is the name of a bakery, padaria, look and say, are they being made? Or look for signs that they're actually being made, because you want them fresh. They're not the same otherwise.
You want them warm.
Yeah, you want them warm and fresh.
The pastéis de Belém, they are constantly making them, and they're always warm. Also, the other place that you just mentioned, I can't remember the name.
Yeah. Well, we also went to Pastel Nata with one of our guys. Oh, with Eating Europe, which we'll get to. Yeah. That's who we went with. And they were just all fabulous. And you just get this incredible cup of coffee. Usually you get it con latte. They like to put milk in the coffee, and it's just bliss. So that's Belém. We also ate at, what was Belém 208, a nice little restaurant there. So there's other things to do besides get the Pastel de Belém and the Mat Museum. So that's it's like an Uber ride to get there. Which now let's just quickly, we talked about key neighborhoods. Let's just talk about transportation, because for me that was blown away. Okay, you see in many Portugal images, Lisbon, the streetcars. They're very, very famous. There's one, number 28, that you can just take and ride all around the city. We almost did that one rainy day. It's crowded, and you have to be aware of pickpockets. But we saw some that were empty.
Well, they were either closed off or they were on private tours.
So you can. That's a fun way to get around the city. However, they also have tuk-tuks. Our friends did tuk-tuks, which are the only time I've ever done a tuk-tuk was in Bangkok. There's tuk-tuk tours, Tin Lizzies.
Yeah, they
like
have these,
Model T.
They have these, and they're modern. They're electric, so they're brand new, but they look like Model Ts, and they're all different colors, and they're a great way to get around. They seat 4 or 6 or 8, whatever it may be,
right?
Because they do come in different sizes. But they were a very cool concept.
Yeah.
To compete with the tuk-tuks and take people on tours around the city with the open air, shall we say, because they're just covered, but they don't have sides.
It's so cool, and you can negotiate price. And then we saw some crazy people biking, motorcycling, and segwaying.
A lot of scooters. A lot of scooters out there too.
I would do it.
Again, the streets.
The streets are bumpy and hilly. But the best part is Ubers are very inexpensive. We actually went to Sintra, which is like 30 minutes away. And how much did it cost us?
$25.
$25. It costs us that much just to go into Mid-City here in Louisiana. And they have another app called Bolt. But, sign up for get the least expensive, get the app and you can get around the city really
One of the
inexpensively.
nice things I found was that in Lisbon, Uber has an electric category where you can request an electric car, and it's cheaper than all the others. So every time I wanted an Uber, and we probably took 15 Ubers while we were there, I went for the electric car. Better for the environment, cheaper for us.
So that's just a general overview. Now we're going to spend the rest of the show talking about eating. So one of the things we did is we did sign up with Eating Europe, which we did in Trastevere in Rome, and we had Ken Dunn on this show. We signed up for the most popular tour, which is a daytime culinary tour. They also have a dining immersion tour and various things. Melissa, our guide, was awesome. It's a 3.5-hour tour, very small group. Maybe 6 people, 8 people?
Yeah, there were about 6 or 8 of us. And what's interesting is that they set up the visits that you do to basically go through a multi-course meal.
Yeah.
So you have a bite here, and then you have an appetizer there, then you have your entree at another spot, and then you have dessert and coffee at another spot. Of course, it was the Pastel de Nata.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you what we ate. And the great thing is Melissa was very informed. We got a little history lesson everywhere we went. And it was mainly in Alfama and Marera. Again, history. And she had wine. I complimented Ken Dunn and his team on this because wine was served, Portuguese wine, every course. And Portugal has a wide variety of wines, and we drank several types. So our first was Gingina Popular for chorizo, a bombero, Bafana. Okay, Bafana. That was a tiny little place. Bafana is like a snack. It's basically slow roasted pork in herbs and white wine, thinly sliced on bread.
Yeah, it's Lisbon's answer to the grab and go sandwich, shall we say?
Yeah.
There's a lot of little places that just make Bafana. They may be a little hole in the wall,
and there's a line outside
shop fronts.
Yeah,
and if there's a line out front of local people, that is probably a good Bafana. But it's just sliced pork on a piece of bread.
And this was a hole in the wall. I mean, there was no sign. It's called Gingina Popular. And we also had some sausages and cheeses. And for me, the non-meat eater, I had a really delicious fried cuttlefish sandwich, lightly tempura fried, thick pieces of cuttlefish. It was delicious with some piri sauce, because we love piri sauce. A lot of piri sauce there. And then we went to Cantinho de Aziz, which is a Mozambique restaurant that is so highly regarded that we saw that the chef had cooked at the James Beard Foundation event and had reviews from Eater and Bon Appetit.
Yeah, it was interesting. Obviously, because Portugal was really one of the naval powers of the world back in the 1500s, and explored a lot of places and took over a lot of places, shall we say. So Brazil, Mozambique, the Far East, that's all
even
incorporated.
South Africa,
South Africa, it's all incorporated into their food and culture in a fairly deep way, because a lot of those countries had open door policies that they could go between Portugal and where they are now, even though they're all independent at this point.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of Brazilian, a lot of Mozambique, a lot of Far Eastern influence in the Portuguese lexicon, shall we say. So the food has a lot of that too. And this restaurant was Mozambique.
Yeah.
They opened their shop in 1984, and they've been going for 40 years.
Tiny.
And it's just a tiny little Mozambique cuisine restaurant, and it's absolutely amazing.
And you probably walk just past it. I mean, these are tiny little bits. So it's called Cantina, like Cantina do Aziz. The next one we went to was Tasquinha. So one's a cantina restaurant, and one's a little tasquita, which is a really small eatery, like a tasca. Canto do Fado. So they did a live fado at night. We were there for lunch. There was a fado, a traditional couvert. So couvert, by the way, is like different Portuguese breads and sauces or butters or whatever. You do pay for it. It's not free.
Olives, bread, olive oil, and butter.
And you're always going to be served it. If you don't want it, say you don't in the beginning, because otherwise you're going to pay for it. Octopus salad, which is traditional and it was very, very good. And then bacalhau à bras. Now, bacalhau, there's an interesting story behind bacalhau. It's like the universal dish of Portugal, but it's not local to Portugal, right?
No, it's not. The waters are too warm in Portugal for cod to live off the coast of Portugal. So all the cod comes from the northern Atlantic, whether that's Norway or Iceland or Canada. Or New England, and all of those areas have a lot of Portuguese fishermen working the waters,
Right.
and through the generations, a lot of settling has happened in those places as well by Portuguese who have gone there to fish. So but the cod, the bacalhau, which is salted cod and dried cod, all comes from those regions. It does not come from Portugal.
And you see it
Yet
everywhere.
it's the Portuguese national dish, in my opinion.
It is.
Those are my words. And we were talking to Melissa, our Eating Europe guide, and she said, I think if you ask a Portuguese person, they'll say that there's 365 ways to make bacalhau.
But one of the most common, besides just plain grilled, or sauteed with steamed potatoes, which you had at O Segredo da Fama, is bacalhau à bras, which is we had also in Porto. It's like a mashup, literally, of shredded, mashed up cod and potatoes, like a mashup. And then with some onions and herbs, and then on top are matchstick potatoes. It's actually interesting. It's probably a better way for me to eat it than just
it's like a casserole.
Yes, it's a cod casserole
or a cod shepherd's pie. I kind of think
that's
that
a good explanation. Yeah, cod shepherd's pie. So we had that again. Everywhere we went, there was wine,
and it's delicious.
Yeah, it actually is one of my more preferred bacalhau dishes. For me, it's not my favorite, but thankfully Portugal has more than cod. Restaurant São Jorge, we had a cheese board of Portuguese cheeses, which are very pungent, and caldo verde, which is a signature dish, a green soup. So you're going to have some green in it. It's very popular in the Azores, and it's just a delicious soup made throughout Portugal in different versions. We had some very good soups throughout this. And then their last stop was the Pasteleria Santo Antonio for that Pastel de Nata, which is one of the top 5. Great tour, 3.5 hours, worth it completely if you want to overview. Because I don't love bacalhau, as you know, I kind of made it my mission this trip to find other mariscos and seafood. Mariscos is shellfish, and then there's seafood. And I think we just did a great job.
We pretty much covered it all.
We did.
If it was available, we had it.
So one of the first things we did is we went to Time Out Market, which you'd been to before and were raving about. And it's just like a one-stop shop, though crowded, to go and try foods from different restaurants and specialties. And I think we had some of the best, freshest sushi imaginable from one place.
It was amazing.
Oh my God. And then we discovered another woman chef. We went there like twice.
We had lunch there twice.
And we tried different dishes. Seafood rice is the one that you get a lot. I've had octopus rice, seafood rice, a lot of rice dishes, which is another thing that reminds me of Louisiana.
Yeah.
But you can also get good pizzas. We didn't get to go. There was one that Simi did. We actually dined at Simi. They had an octopus hot dog.
Yes.
I wanted to try that.
I wanted to try it too. And they didn't have it at the restaurant, which was too bad for us.
No, I really wanted to go there. But Time Out Market, go early or late. There is a fresh fruit and vegetable market next to it, but it is an incredible. This is the man who created Time Out Magazine, Time Out Media, started this in London, and there's Time Out markets around the world. I think this is my first one. I was blown away.
Yeah, it's one of the earlier ones. There are timeouts all over the world now, and but the Lisbon one was one of the first outside of London that he opened up.
Just fabulous.
And it's great. It features food stalls from restaurants and independent food stalls as well from around the city, and to help highlight and focus on the cuisine of that area. And they're always busy, and I think it's a great bargain.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. And you can get wine. We had wine and coffee. It's just great. Now, there were a couple of seafood dishes that I'm still dreaming about. And again, many reminded me of New Orleans. I think my all-time high-time favorite was the cataplana. I've posted that photo. Cataplana is a brass oval dish to cook the seafood stew, which is also called cataplana.
Yeah, and it's for those of you who are familiar.
We have a picture of it. The first one, Juan, you can put that up. That's a
for those of you who are familiar with bouillabaisse from Marseille.
Yeah.
This is the Portuguese version of that.
Unbelievable. I think it's one of the. We had this one at Maria Catita. We actually dined there twice at the recommendation of the wonderful people who handle hospitality at Higgy House, where we stayed, and it was near where we stayed. The first time I went, I had the octopus rice. Also good. But this was our last dish together, and it was divine. So literally the contemplana is a 2-piece vessel where you cook for like 30 minutes and steam this, and it's all seafood. It's all shellfish based. It's a Apetite de mariscos,
Right.
which is they call it.
And it was just delicious.
Yeah.
With a rich, savory tomatoey broth.
Yeah. And as I said, you can also have octopus is very popular there. Fresh fish. Now, the fresh fish, the second middle photo one will show. We went to See Me. This is very common. You can go and pick your select your food, and they'll cook it for you. This is an example at a restaurant called SEA Me, M-E. And you can literally, they march you over to the seafood market and you pick the fresh, incredible food, and they just cook it right there. And we did that. We ended up having like flounder. We were kind of, it was expensive. So that's why we were kind of gobsmacked by the price. But that's what market seafood places are like, whether they're in Greece or Portugal or wherever. We also had some very good sushi at See Me, and that is a lively restaurant in the Barrio Alta. That was my birthday dinner. It was terrific. But just the amount and scope of fresh seafood is incredible. And I tasted things that I never had before, such as the sea barnacles, which you love, right?
Yes, the gooseneck barnacles.
Gooseneck barnacles. And they're called percebes. There's no photo of them in this, I don't think.
No,
I
not.
see. But we had them at a very in-demand restaurant called Remiro, Remiro. We went there for New Year's Eve. So they had a limited menu, but the limited menu was shellfish, poor us. So we had this incredible meal of shellfish, including the goose barnacles.
Mm-hmm.
And they're expensive because apparently they're very hard to dive down and eat. I think they look prehistoric and scary.
They're hand harvested, and they are barnacles that grow on rocks.
Yeah.
There's only one way to get them, and that's to go down there and pick them.
Yeah.
And it depends on the weather, of course, and whether somebody wants to go out and do that job.
Yeah.
So they're not rare, but they are expensive, but they're delicious in my opinion. You didn't like them as much as I did.
No.
I love them.
What's interesting about the photo up on the screen is you can see it tells the origin. So some of these are from the Algarve, Mozambique, Atlantic. Portugal basically is bordered by the sea, the Atlantic Sea,
Mm-hmm.
north to south. So you're going to have this amazing seafood. I love the langoustines. I love the fresh goldfish. The octopus was very tender. We had a wonderful seafood soup. We had at one place, Uma Mariscaria, which our guide Tiago recommended. We had a paella one time and a seafood rice dish the second time. We went to 2 different locations. Very popular with Asians. I guess the Asian guide must really be saying it's a super popular place. We were the only people who were not Asian in there, but it was called Uma Mariscaria. Just fantastic.
And the food was delicious.
Yeah, just fantastic. Okay, we can take that photo down, but there's so much more to dining out in Portugal and Lisbon than cod. Yeah. And if you really don't like meat,
and if you move,
there's plenty of options
once you move away from the coast, there's a lot of meat as well. So there was chicken and pork and lamb as well.
Well, you had some pork cheeks a few times,
and beef, and the food. The food's all prepared deliciously. Uh-huh. But once you're inland, and we went to the town of Évora, which is in Alentejo, one afternoon for lunch, and that was meat focused because it's an hour and a half inland from the sea. So they don't get that seafood banging on their door like they do in Lisbon.
Well, you had a pickled pheasant.
Yeah, I did.
So we went we didn't do a lot of day trips because it was Christmas week and a lot of places went, but we did do 2. And it's very easy to do day trips. Everybody's offering tours. You can haggle and negotiate. And we, fortunately, to go to Évora, we have a very good friend, Surf Wine Tours, Mario Vidal. He's based in Cascais, which is a beautiful town to get to on the water. Mario organizes very nice, more luxurious wine tours and surfing tours. So Surf Wine Tours, let's give him a shout out. He has become a friend of ours on social media and wishes me happy birthday every year. And finally, he'd always say, when are you coming to Portugal? And I wrote him, I said, this is the time where we're going to meet.
Guess where we are. And so we actually met and had spent the afternoon with him. It was great.
We'd never met. So he took us to Évora, which you've been to.
Yeah, I've been to before. That's where there's a very famous chapel there called the Chapel of Bones.
Yes.
It's from the 15 or 1600s, and they tiled the walls of the chapel with human bones, and it's just incredible to see. And so I had been there before, and I was like, Melanie, if we're going to go to one of the towns outside of Lisbon and take a day trip, this is the one you should go to.
About 90-minute drive.
Yeah.
It was raining, so that was kind of a bummer. But we went. The Chapel of Bones was so worth it.
Capella de Ossos.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then we had the chance to go have some wine and dine at the Enoteca Cartuja. Cartuxa. Cartuja is an interesting story. We actually met with the export director and had dinner at her husband's restaurant, Belém 208 in Lisbon. It turns out Cartuja was owned. It's a huge property in Alentejo, and basically was owned by a noble family who both died and left no heirs. And so in their estate, they willed it to create a foundation to benefit the town of Cartuja and the monastery and educational and social service programs. So the wines were very nice. They're available in the United States. And we tasted a few with our meal at the Enoteca, which is in the heart of Évora. But it's a nice story that this one winery basically provides for this historic UNESCO World Heritage Site town called Évora.
Yeah, and that was their will was to create that foundation to fund and make wine to fund all the projects and all the charities that are involved with that foundation. It's an amazing story. And the wine, they make 6 million bottles a year.
Yeah, it's a big.
So there's no lack of wine or funding for what they're trying to accomplish. And it's a great story.
We didn't taste many because it was raining and I don't know, we were just like tired, but we tasted some lovely whites. Yeah. I had a fish called dogfish soup. It was kind of a creamier, really savory fish soup. It was delicious. I wish I had just had my bandwidth at that point post New Year's. I was like, I can't have any more. But it was a wonderful day trip. The other day trip we did, which everybody does, is to Sintra. And I have 3 things to say about that trip. One, you don't need to spend a lot of money to go to Sintra. It's like 30-minute drive outside of Lisbon. We hired an Uber. It was like 25 euros. And then you can hire a guide when you get there if you want to show you around. 2, you can easily through booking.com or get your guide just buy tickets to the gardens and not the palace, because the palace, to get into the Pena Palace, which is spectacular on the outside, but it's long lines to get in. So you have to be patient.
And you're only allowed to see 3 rooms.
Tiago, one of our guides, gave us that tip.
Yeah.
Sintra is stunning.
But the gardens are acres and acres and acres of forest and formal gardens. So it's really nice to see. And it's up on top of a mountain overlooking Sintra and overlooking the Atlantic Ocean and the coast. It's gorgeous.
And the palace it's definitely worth it. But you must go when it's not raining, because it is a dry day trip for sure. It has its own microclimate also, so it will be chillier. What we learned is the town itself is delightful. And I think we both agreed that when we returned, we would actually spend the night in Sintra. There was lots to do. There was a port tasting room, some wine bars,
good
restaurants. We had a very good. I had this mushroom soup made from local Sintra mushrooms that just blew me away. Just fantastic. Yeah. Our Uber driver recommended it. Always ask locals.
It was interesting because it was about noon when we were driving over, and we said, well, maybe we'll have lunch before we go up to the top of the mountain and see the castle. He goes, well, I've got the perfect restaurant for you. And he dropped us right off at the restaurant as opposed to where we had prepaid to get dropped off at.
Right.
And he said, so he detoured us and for no
I think
extra
it was called
fee
Uncommon or something. It's a chef-driven restaurant.
It's Uncommon was the name of the restaurant. Yeah.
Fantastic. But again, take it slow. This is not a place to rush and say, oh, I got to check off this place and this place and this. I see that all the time on social media groups I'm on. Like, people just try to rush through their trips and they don't really enjoy it in the same way.
Yes, that's so true.
It's so true. So we did Sintra. We were blessed. It was our last day. The weather had cleared because in Évora it was raining. I was blown away by the palace. There's a whole history behind it. There's so much to see, so colorful. The whole area of Sintra is an outdoor museum with sculptures everywhere. We didn't get to Cascais, which is nearby. Frankly, I would do that on a different day and have a nice lunch there. There's a very famous chef, Jose Aviles, who has a terrific restaurant there we didn't get to. We tried to go to as many restaurants as we could, but we only had so much time and bandwidth. But what I learned is that Lisbon has Michelin-worthy and rated restaurants. You can do that route and you will have an amazing good time. It has historic fine dining restaurants. One that we went to and recommend was Gambrinas. I think it dates to the 1920s.
Mhm.
It's in a more commercial area of the Baja. I would have walked right past it.
It
I
was
mean,
the early 1930s, actually.
yeah, I would have walked right past this restaurant because it was in
'Cause
the
it's-
middle of all those places where the restaurants have signs and people are trying to get you in, but you walk in and you just feel like you're walking in history.
And it was just delightful.
And almost all the dishes were prepared tableside.
Yeah,
Remember
yeah.
that?
It was all Garridon tableside service,
Oh,
and the wine director Pedro was
oh, he
fabulous.
was fabulous.
And,
So yeah.
was very intuitive and knew what we wanted, and picked some beautiful wines, including a Portuguese Pinot Noir,
And it was
which
terrific
was fabulous.
from the Douro, right? Yeah, from the Douro. And we tried really hard to drink local wines. We did green wine from Vinhos Verde. We did we love the Dow whites. We love this Pinot Noir from the Douro, the reds, the Alentejo reds, the Baradas where the sparkling wines
Yes.
are. And of course, at Vora, we had the Cartuja wines and a few others. You know, always drink local. Portugal we'd like to go back and do more wine focus. Of course, we had
Couldn't
just
agree
been to
more.
Porto, so we kind of didn't do a lot of port on this trip because we'd just done an intensive Porto trip. But just terrific. I want to just also, so you can get Michelin rated restaurants, but then you have these charming Toscas.
Right.
And we went to a few on our culinary tour, and then Osagrita de Alfama. She was so cute. There was like only 4 wines to choose from, and we were like having a ball. And just everybody's very friendly. You can also go to some terrific wine bars. We liked one near us called Antigua. It was always packed, but there's some where you can just order simple foods. And then the cocktail bars are very good. We went to one called Aura, Oura, that was, I still don't know what that neighborhood is. We walked way up. It was New Year's Eve.
But it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. And our friend Tina, who owns a distillery, said it was one of the best cocktail bars she'd been to. It was very sassy and classy and intimate. It's called Aura, Oura, or something like that. And then the one we love that we have to give a shout out to was Shoes. What was it?
Shoes and Booze.
Shoes and Booze. Okay, that we did. That we had such a fun night there.
It's a dual shoe shop.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually have shoes on the wall for sale.
Handmade, beautiful.
And they're all beautiful. And they're handmade. Portugal's very well known for its shoes and leather work. But and then booze, of course. So it's a cocktail bar and music bar
wine.
And wine bar where you can get bites to eat as well. So we actually went there for a drink and ended up staying for dinner and watching the music.
They had bossa nova, incredible live bossa nova from Portugal, because in addition to the sad fado music, you're going to get incredible with the beats of bossa nova from Portugal. We had an Alentejo wine, terrific red, with a selection of a pistachio kind of hummus and cheeses, Portuguese cheeses, and I think something else. And Barbara Stein, shout out to her. She was so sweet. She was shaken to the music in the back of the bar.
She's the one that runs the place and creates the cocktails, and she's just a lovely woman.
Such a great. And then next door, if you really want to have a little more quiet, they have a restaurant next door, and it's owned by a company that the owner owns a winery, a bodega in Alentejo.
Right. So all the wines are from him.
Right.
And the food and the atmosphere and the wine and the cocktails were just delightful.
Yeah, it was. I think it was our last night, and it was just great. I have to say, the trip was amazing. I think we covered a lot of ground. We tried a lot of restaurants, from high end to casual to eateries to wine bars to Shoes and Booze and street food, and we still, I don't think, made a dent because there's so much. Thanks to our incredible guides, Tiago, Kate, and Melissa at Eating Europe, they all gave us lists. They gave us lists of where to go, their favorite clubs, their favorite museums, their favorite bars. I'm looking at it now. I just got to figure out how I'm going to compile it into something to share with all of you. But when you travel, connect with locals. Go don't just be a tourist, be a traveler.
Yeah. And don't feel that you have to see everything, because you can always go back.
Yeah, you can always go back. And I'm going to say this, we'll be back to Lisbon and to Portugal. We think it's a terrific place to go. I'm so grateful we took the time. Yeah. And I hope as we wrap up this show that you're inspired to book the trip, take the soap, and take another bite of something new, because you only live once. So in the spirit of the Portuguese that we connect with, enjoy life. They went through a lot of hardship in history. Mm-hmm. They've come out of it, much like our friends in New Orleans, and they know how to live life to the fullest. And we hope you do too, as you start your 2026. So as always, thank you for joining us. Step outside your comfort zone, eat, drink, and explore on your own, and always with us on The Connected Table. Follow us on The Connected Table on Instagram. Follow our blog, The Connected Table, and always stay insatiably curious. Thank you.